like an open sewer. They would throw toxic waste, animal carcasses, trash, and factory runoff all directly into this water. That would flow on out to Lake Michigan and would then pollute our drinking water. After a few thousand people died, over 12% of the city's population at that time from waterborne diseases, city officials decided this is a very big problem and something ought to be done about it. After a lot of debate and discussion, the city decided the best way to fix the giant problem would simply be to reverse the flow of the river and send all of the trash down in the opposite direction towards St. Louis. And we did just that all thanks to the sanitary and ship canal. And once everyone's done laughing and everyone from St. Louis is done being upset, many people just get confused. We wonder, how do you reverse a river? It sounds extremely complex. Truth be told, it's a very simple process as long as you keep in mind one rule. A body of water with a direction is always going to be flowing towards the largest body of water that it can access. Now that rule did apply considering the dimensions of our bodies of water. The river at any given point is roughly 80 feet wide and then 25 feet deep, whereas Lake Michigan is over 300 miles long and is over 900 feet deep at its deepest point. The lake was also the largest body of water that the river could naturally access. The question for our engineers was, what's nearby or least accessible that's bigger than the lake that we can send all of our water to? The engineers found an answer. They found it in the Atlantic Ocean. We got there all thanks to the sanitary and ship canal. The canal was built in 1892, completed in 1900, and activated on January 2nd of that year. Since that day, we have maintained our reversal. The canal connected to the south end of the South Branch out and over to the Des Plaines River. A river already flowing in the desired direction and already flowing to a larger body of water than our lake. Since we have reversed the river, water is now taken off Lake Michigan and sent down the Chicago River through the sanitary and ship canal, down the Des Plaines, down the Illinois, down the Mississippi. That water eventually reaches the Gulf of Mexico and then the Atlantic Ocean. The reversal of the river is one of the 10 engineering marvels of the 20th century, and once we had successfully reversed the river, we found ourselves with very clean drinking water, and waterborne disease was no longer an issue. Unfortunately, the city also found itself in the center of a giant lawsuit. Now, believe it or not, the lawsuit wasn't with the city of St. Louis. It's with the 3 states that surround the lake. Those 3 states are Michigan, Indiana, and Wisconsin. The 3 states became concerned because once we had successfully reversed the river, we now found ourselves with the potential to drain Lake Michigan of a significant amount of its water. Estimating over how much water we could take off the lake often confuses people for a second time. They wonder what's 25 feet of water in comparison to over 900 feet. Those 3 states are worrying over nothing. Actually, the 3 states had a very good reason to be concerned. You see, the first 30 feet of Lake Michigan, that's from the surface down, makes up over 75% of Lake Michigan's volume of water. Over 75% of 1.7 trillion gallons of water we can now easily take off the surface of the lake, all thanks to our river reversal. So the 3 states, as I mentioned, got together, they sued the city. We spent the next 38 years, almost 40 years of work, debating about how much or how little we would or would not affect the level of the lake. In 1938, we came up with a compromise. That compromise sits ahead of us, and it is the Chicago Harbor Lock. The lock is our compromise because it allows us to control and to monitor the amount of water that comes in off the lake. By doing that, we can see how much water we're taking, and we can stop ourselves if we take too much. The lock is also completely free to use and is open to the public 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. While we wait to use the lock, I'll tell you all a little bit more about Lake Michigan, since we're going to be there very shortly. Lake Michigan is the 3rd largest of the Great Lakes in terms of surface area. It's the 2nd largest in terms of volume of water, and that's the only Great Lake to be entirely inside of the United States. The lake's dimensions are 307 miles long at its longest point, 118 miles wide at its widest point. Care too much about the facts about the lake, considering that's going on. So I'll come back to the lake if anyone is interested, but those plans, as you probably already know,
yes, we're not interested in the lake, we're more interested.
Today is the last day of it. It runs from 10 to 4. It is completely free, and it headquarters right around the North Avenue beach. Now, if you guys want, I need to take a poll now. If we find ourselves surrounded by planes, do you want me to keep talking, or do you want to watch the planes?
Watch the planes.
Watch the planes. Okay, as long as everyone is agreed. So other than that, I will do my best to narrate between the planes, but like I said, if they're right on top of us, I will just let you guys enjoy. Since the plane seem to be over that way now, I'll finish talking about the lake. The deepest point of the Lake Michigan is 923 feet deep, and that point sits about 30 miles east of Greenville, Wisconsin. The average water depth is around 275 feet. The area that we are going to travel on today is anywhere from 25 to 45 feet deep. Lake Michigan is still our main source of drinking water, and I'll talk more about the lake as a drinking water source while we're on the lake and by the filtration plant. And since it will still be just a few more moments till we're clear to move inside the lock, I'll stop narration for just a second, and I'll pick back up once we're clear to move inside the lock.